You're in an argument. You know exactly what you want to say. You've rehearsed it in your head. You've got the words lined up perfectly. And then, your voice cracks. Your eyes start burning. And before you can finish your sentence, you're crying. Not because you're sad. Not because you're hurt. Because you're angry. Genuinely, deeply angry. But your body betrayed you. And now, the person across from you thinks you're being emotional, dramatic, weak. So you shut down. You walk away. And you replay the whole thing for the next 3 days, furious at yourself for crying when all you wanted was to be heard. If this has happened to you, there's a real neurological reason your brain does this, and it has nothing to do with weakness. Here's what this actually looks like. You're trying to set a boundary with someone, a friend, a coworker, a family member. You've been thinking about it for days. You finally say something, and instead of your voice coming out firm and clear, it comes out shaking. Your throat tightens, your eyes fill up, and suddenly, you're the one who looks like they need comforting. Or, you're in a meeting. Someone takes credit for your work. You know you should speak up, but the second you open your mouth, your body starts doing that thing. The heat in your chest, the sting behind your eyes. So you stay quiet, and you spend the next 4 hours writing the perfect response in your notes app that you'll never send. The worst part isn't the crying. The worst part is what you tell yourself afterward. That you're too sensitive, that you can't handle confrontation, that something is fundamentally wrong with the way you process emotions. You've probably even Googled, "Why do I cry when I'm angry?" at 2 a.m., looking for proof that you're not broken. And here's the part nobody talks about. You're not broken. Your brain is actually doing something remarkably sophisticated. It's just doing it at the worst possible time. When you get angry, your amygdala, the part of your brain that processes threat, fires up. It floods your system with cortisol and adrenaline. This is your fight-or-flight response activating. In most people, the prefrontal cortex steps in quickly, modulates the response, and lets them express the anger verbally. Controlled. Measured. But in some people, the emotional arousal is so intense that it overwhelms the prefrontal cortex before it can regulate. This is called emotional flooding. Your brain is processing the anger, the injustice, the frustration, the vulnerability underneath the anger, and the social consequences of expressing it, all simultaneously. It's running 5 emotional threads at once. And when your nervous system gets overloaded like this, the body defaults to its most basic pressure release valve: tears. Think of it like a computer running too many programs at once. It doesn't crash because it's weak. It crashes because it's processing more than the average system. Your brain isn't malfunctioning. It's overperforming. And the tears are the overflow. Research in affective neuroscience suggests that people who cry when angry tend to score higher in emotional granularity, the ability to distinguish between different emotional states. You're not just angry. You're simultaneously angry, hurt, disappointed, and afraid that your anger will be misunderstood. Most people don't process all of those layers at once. You do. And that processing load is what triggers the tears. This pattern usually develops early. If you grew up in an environment where expressing anger wasn't safe, where raised voices led to consequences, where being angry meant being labeled difficult or ungrateful, your brain learned to reroute anger through a softer channel. Tears were safer than confrontation. Crying was more acceptable than fighting back. This isn't damage, it's adaptation. Your brain found the safest way to express a feeling that felt dangerous. It was intelligent. It kept you safe. The problem is that this rerouting is still running in situations where you no longer need protection. You need expression. And you can't just turn it off, because it's not a choice. It's a conditioned autonomic response. Telling yourself "don't cry" in the moment is like telling yourself "don't blink." The harder you try, the more your body resists. So here's what's actually true about you. The same mechanism that makes you cry when you're angry is the same one that makes you deeply empathetic. That makes you notice when someone's smile doesn't reach their eyes. That makes you the person people come to when they need to feel understood. You feel things at a resolution most people don't operate at. And that's a real, measurable cognitive trait, not a weakness you need to fix. The tears aren't a breakdown. They're an overflow of a system that processes more emotional data than average. Both things are true. It's a genuine strength, and it's genuinely exhausting. You don't have to pick one. Two things that actually work with this. First, when you feel the tears coming during a confrontation, press your tongue to the roof of your mouth and focus on the physical pressure. This activates your trigeminal nerve, which disrupts the parasympathetic crying reflex. It doesn't suppress the emotion. It gives your prefrontal cortex a few extra seconds to catch up. That pause is often enough. Second, write the anger before you speak it. Not a polished email, just raw, unfiltered writing. What you're angry about, why it matters, what you actually want to say. This externalizes the emotional processing that's currently overwhelming your system. When you finally have the conversation, your brain has already processed half the load. The tears are less likely because the overflow has already been released. You're not crying because you're weak. You're crying because you feel things at a depth that your body doesn't have a better outlet for, yet. That's not something to fix. That's something to understand and to work with. And the next time it happens, and it will happen, maybe instead of being angry at yourself for crying, you can recognize it for what it actually is. Your brain telling you that this matters to you more than words can hold.